exactly as you portrayed it. They never notified you. Senator Booker.
Thank you, Mr. Ritz, for being here. I really appreciate you putting yourself forward. You've lived your entire life. I've looked at your CV, and I just found it interesting that you never worked in a private law firm. Is that true?
That's correct, Senator. Other than, I should say, being a summer associate.
So, I'm kind of wondering why you've dedicated your entire life to public service when you could have broken away at any point of time and made enough money to perhaps pay off loans, or made enough money to perhaps, I mean, we see lots of judges come here before us, and you're a rarity. You've dedicated your entire life to public service. Can you explain that to me?
My entire life, Senator, thank you for the question, to public service in service of our country. And it was instilled in me as a child, whether it was being an Eagle Scout or otherwise, to have pride in our country and how important it was to give back to your community. And
I'm sorry, but your career, from the time you were like not even a teenager, you've been this outstanding, like, sort of example, leader, recognized amongst your peers, Phi Beta Kappa. I mean, I'm glad my mom isn't here, because she'd look at me and say, why didn't you have as good grades? And yet you never got pulled into something that would make your life a little bit more financially comfortable.
And Senator, it is true that I had opportunities to do that. Many of my colleagues in the U.S. Attorney's Office can say the same thing. And it's been such a fulfilling career to work side by side with them, with our team, our law enforcement partners, of course, in service of this greater goal of upholding the rule of law and keeping people safe.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me, because law enforcement, there's a lot of aspersions cast on law enforcement as a profession. You and I have had a chance, I imagine, to work with a lot of people in law enforcement and seen sort of their heroic work. Why take this career path through being a prosecutor, being a part of, basically, an arm of the law of our country?
I'm not going to say I fell into it, but it certainly seemed like a great pathway to kind of move back to your hometown and be an AUSA. It's kind of the best of all worlds. Obviously, you get really good experience as a new prosecutor, and whether you're in state or federal court, and that was certainly the case. I was thrown into things, but to work with law enforcement officers, I can say there were Memphis police officers on my cases who I'd gone to high school with, and just being a part of that community and serving that community every day to try to keep people safe. And I've certainly broadened that portfolio past Memphis to the other 21 counties of our district, and taken that responsibility very seriously to make sure we're being intentional about serving the citizens in all 22 of our counties.
And you understand clearly through your career what it means to be a patriot. You demonstrate that with the choices you made with your life. What it means to have integrity within law enforcement, and how scrupulously disciplined you have to be in the conducting the law. You seem to understand what it means to be humble in your service. And yet law enforcement often gets attacked. You knew you were coming before a Senate committee. You knew you were going to be roughed up. But I wonder what it feels like to live your life with these values, to be the center part of your being, from the letters I've read and the like, to be called a liar or to be accused of these things. How does that make you feel?
Senator, whatever I feel would pale in comparison to my colleagues in federal, state, and law enforcement who are on the front lines and deal with, no offense, much more serious risks to their well-being and livelihoods than I am here today, of course.
Right, and you probably had in law enforcement, you get questioned from the people on the left and the right.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and I imagine when you wade into difficult issues that do get the public eye, like the Tyree Nichols case, I'm sure you were questioned during that period as well.
Yes, Senator, and all I can say is with every decision that I've made as United States Attorney, it's because of what I felt was in the best interest of the United States and the best way for us to uphold the rule of law without fear or favor to anyone.
So bullying or name calling or critiques from the left or the right, the politics of the day about law enforcement, you hear all that noise, but how does it affect your work?
I think you keep your head down and work day to day to fulfill the mission of the department, and I'm proud of our team for doing that. We obviously don't get involved in politics. We uphold the rule of law in a neutral fashion.
And lastly, there are a lot of things. I've never obviously served in the judiciary. A lot of things said that are important values for judges. You've been before a lot of judges before. Can you just maybe summarize finally, what do you think to you, when you've looked towards the bench, what is the most important values that a judge has?
I think it's really important for judges to be open-minded and in a meaningful way engage with the arguments being raised by the parties, even if it's something that you may have seen 100 million times before. A diligence about going through the record, of course, as an appellate judge, really getting your hands into the record of what happened below. And finally, a scrupulous fidelity to the law and to the legal precedent.
Well, I just want to thank you. I won't necessarily get this opportunity again to look you in the eye and tell you how humbling it is to me, how you've chosen to live your life with your gifts, with your qualifications, with your excellence, the fact that you have shown a fidelity to the law and shown a love of community, a love of your state, and a love of this country. It's not exhibited in your words. It's exhibited in how you've lived. And I'm grateful that you're an American and grateful that you want to do this job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ritz, this ain't beanbag. It's at the highest level for